What we should be doing instead, especially as coaches, is getting that athlete to bring the weight all the way down to maybe even just an empty barbell and really hone in on those movement faults that might be leading to the chronic injury, retrain the athlete, and then slowly build up that intensity as we move forward. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Excellence in Motion. Today, we're going to talk about mechanical loading and tissue damage as it relates to chronic injuries. So, what you can see on the board is a diagram that I've laid out that describes sort of the cascade of events that might lead to tissue damage and how that can relate to pain later on and what we need to do to mitigate that pain and stop it from happening again in the future. So let's start from the top. Mechanical loading can be any sort of stress that you place on the body, on the tendons or the muscles and the bones from activity. That can be running, can be lifting weights, can be swimming, can be anything like that that's going to put a lot of stress on the body. From there, you start to see where tissue level strain can either lead to no damage at all or what we call microscopic trauma. Typically, everyone has a specific baseline of microscopic trauma. What that is those small tears and breakdown of tissue that will allow you to grow and adapt and become a better, stronger athlete. What we usually see in asymptomatic people is the repair of damage to those systems is able to keep up with itself and get things back to that baseline. So what we have on that, if we want to look at a graph of time and damage, people kind of spend a decent amount of time going up and down in this baseline area. You know, increases in damage are that microscopic trauma, and the repair of the damage is the decrease in that graph, okay? But what can happen is if we allow damage to accumulate by increasing loads, whether that's intensity in weight or distance or speed, especially with poor mechanics, over time, the repair process doesn't really keep up where we'd like it to. So you start to see that damage accumulation over time, which is what we got here. If that damage accumulation occurs too long, it starts to approach what we call a pain threshold. It's different for every person, but essentially the pain threshold is that point at which the body has received enough damage to the point where it says, hey, something's wrong, something's going in the wrong direction, we need to pay attention to our body and what's going on now, so hopefully we cannot cause further tissue damage beyond that point. So on the graph here, we see that mechanical or chemical activation of pain receptors will occur once we've reached that pain threshold. Our body's letting us know something's wrong, we need to fix it. If, however, we continue to load the body in ways that it's not ready to adjust to, we can definitely see that pain threshold be reached too soon, and it may lead to macroscopic damage or a complete tear in a tendon. Most of the time, people aren't going to push through pain as often as some other people might. And so what we'll start to see instead, as we bring this graph more sharply over here, people will reach that pain threshold and then they'll change their training till that pain goes away. A lot of athletes, after noticing that the pain is gone, may jump right back into doing the things that they were doing before then, even with poor mechanics and bad intensity. And you start to see that graph go right back up and past that pain threshold. And you see a lot of athletes end up in this cycle of pain, no pain, pain, no pain, and we have chronic injuries. These are injuries that last for long periods of time and tend to really bug athletes, and it keeps them from being able to progress because they can't seem to get out of this cycle right here. So our job as physical therapists and rehab specialists is to try to get athletes out of this chronic cycle and bring them back down to this baseline of microtrauma where their body can repair damage and continue to grow without breaking down. So what does that look like for a lot of athletes, especially weightlifting athletes. My specific area of specialty is in CrossFit. A lot of times we see CrossFitters who have really poor mechanics but have been getting away with that for a long time. So they may even see themselves hitting numbers like 205 for a snatch at a specific point in time. And they continue to add weight at poor mechanics until they have a painful event. They back off for a few weeks, pain goes away, and then they try to go right back to that 205 or something, still using the same mechanics that they've been using over the past year and a half, 2 years or so, and then they get caught in this pain cycle and never really improving on their lifts. What we should be doing instead, especially as coaches, is getting that athlete to bring the weight all the way down to maybe even just an empty barbell and really hone in on those movement faults that might be leading to the chronic injury, retrain the athlete, and then slowly build up that intensity as we move forward. CrossFit's philosophy is mechanics, consistency, then and only then intensity. We want to have really solid mechanics. We want to do them consistently well over a long period of time and then introduce intensity as we go on a gradual progression. That's the best way to decrease the likelihood of developing chronic injuries and staying in that pain, no pain, pain, no pain cycle. Hopefully this was really helpful. If you're an athlete, please pay attention to this kind of stuff. This is what's going to keep you from developing chronic injuries down the line and may even help you to increase your PRs in either your running, your swimming, your CrossFit workouts, your weightlifting, all of those sorts of things without having to worry about having to sit out or take long breaks from your training. If you're a coach, this is super important stuff for you to recognize for your athletes. Find those movement faults in your athletes, point them out, and get them on the right track so that we can keep them from being in this chronic cycle here. If you find yourself in this area right now, I highly recommend that you seek out a rehab specialist, someone who really understands and knows movement so that they can get you on the right track to success for your fitness. As always, thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe, drop a like, drop comments, share with your family and friends, and I'll catch you on the next one.